Welcome to PurplePond YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss the most elementary concept of mutual fund investments called the return. Mutual fund returns or FD returns, wherever you say returns, you have n number of definitions for the returns and each one is free to use whatever he or she likes to describe the return. Let's understand what is a return. Return is a compensation for the deferment of consumption. You have money today and you are compromising on the consumptions that you want to do today, and you are lending it to someone, or you are passing the investment surplus to someone, and they in turn promise you a return for the money that they have enjoyed. So return is something which you get in future for the compromise that you have done today. If the definition is so clear, where is the confusion arising from? The confusion arises from the different type of returns. If you take return can be stated based on the holding period, that we called as holding period return or absolute return. You can have one more return, simple annualized return. You can have a compounded annual growth rate. You can also have the internal rate of return. Then you can have an extended internal rate of return. So you have 5-6 types of return, and each one uses, when I say 6 types of return, you can even add another terminology called yield. So you have so many descriptions and you are completely confused. Go to the bank RM says, so the absolute return. Bank RM says return. He does not even say absolute return. He says 48%, sir. Go to the mutual fund advisor, he says compounded annual growth rate is 11.75%. Go to the insurance RM, he says the IRR works out to be 6.5%, sir. So all these things are pointing towards what you get in return to what you paid. Now you should be able to compare all this on a common platform to adjudge which is the good product, which is the product which is suitable to you. Is your compromise on present consumption adequately being rewarded? You will be able to do all this or compare different products only when you have a common platform of comparison, or you should have a common parameter on which you can compare all these returns. Now let's look at each return and what do they mean, so that you can have your comparison based on a particular type of return. The absolute return is nothing but what did you invest and how much you got. Let's assume somebody invested 100 rupees for a period of 5 years and the 100 rupees has become 200 rupees. Here the return we talk about is 100% because the money has doubled. This return is called either holding period return or the absolute return. When you state the absolute return, we never talk about the time period for which it is held. So basically this 100% return does not give you a meaning when compared to some other product. When somebody says 100% return, you should definitely be asking how many years of investment, or what is this 100% return. The next return is called simple annualized return. Same example, if somebody has invested 100 rupees, in 5 years he gets 200 rupees, then simple annualized return would be 20%. The 100% divided by 5 number of years. It is called the simple annualized return. Will the simple annualized return suffice to compare the products? Here the concept of compounding has not been considered at all. If you get 20%, if 100 becomes 200 in 5 years, is the return called 20% return? If somebody comes and tells you the yield is 20%, the simple return is 20%, then the first question you should ask is it a compounded annualized growth rate or it's a simple return? Then the person who is trying to explain you the product will get to understand that you know the concepts of return, and he will come back and say, sir, this is only simple annualized return. Now let's look at how is the compounded annualized growth rate calculated. This is the compound interest formula that we all know, 1 plus r by 100 to the power n into p. The concept is money works to earn and the earned money works again to earn. So it is a sort of money earning for itself. So when you leave the money invested in a particular instrument, the money gets money for you. This concept we call it as compounding, and Einstein has very famously put it, compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. So this is such an important concept we all should understand. So whenever your investments have crossed more than 1 year, always ask a question, what is the annualized return, or what is the CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. When you ask for compounded annual growth rate, then you will be able to compare different products at the same parameter and you will be able to make a prudent decision on your investments. Let's now take the 3 different returns stated. Before that, let's look at how is this compounded annual growth rate calculated. The rate of return is the variable here. So the amount or corpus is equal to P, that is your 100 into 1 plus R is unknown by 100 to the power 5. When you rearrange and calculate what is R works out to be 14.87%. So we have 3 returns now. One is a 100% return, which did not take into consideration the number of years invested. The second return was 20%, which did not take into consideration the compounded annual growth rate. The third return is 14.87%. This is the return you should be taking cognizant about, and this is the return which you should always want to know and always should compare the products across the investment spectrum. So you should not be happy that my investment has given me 100% return for investing 5 years, or my investments has given me 20% return over a period of 5 years. These things literally blot the return number. So what you have to look at is the compounded annual growth rate. The compounded annual growth rate is looked at whenever your investment has crossed 1 year of investment. For investments less than 1 year, you can always look at the absolute return, because it is less than a year, the absolute return is what will give you the correct measure. More than 1 year, look at compounded annual growth rate. Less than 1 year, look at absolute return. Having said this, if you look at life is not so simple, like once you invest and after 5 years you take it out. The investment on a practical life is not as simple as that which we have seen it in the past 3 examples. No, we tend to invest, we tend to take it out. There could be a regular investment, there could be an irregular investment. Their amount could be same or the amount could be different. So when the frequency of investment is uneven, the frequency of the quantum of investment is not even, then comes difficulty in calculating your compounded annual growth rate. Excel has saved us from undergoing a lot of hodgepodge in calculating the return. Excel has got 2 functions, one called internal rate of return, the other called extended internal rate of return. Let's look at internal rate of return. Internal rate of return gives you the compounded annual growth rate for a series of investments. Meaning, let's take a common example. We all pay insurance premium every year. If you look at the insurance premium, the premium for a 20-year term is constant, and every year you start paying the premium at the same date. So here the frequency of payment is even and the quantum of payment is even. So with this IRR function of Excel, you will be able to find out what is the rate of return that you are getting for the series of premium payment that you are making. So IRR gives you the annual growth rate on your investment series of cash flow that you are making. The series of cash flow whenever it is made from you, it is denoted in negative symbol, and whatever you get from the insurance company is given as a positive figure. So this cash flow from you and to you is captured, and the rate of return is calculated for the series of cash flows. Now come to the extended internal rate of return. What is extended internal rate of return? The extended internal rate of return, or XIRR, is the most practical function you can have, because never the investments are very linear. You can always have investments linear, but your time frames need not be regular. So all these complexities are solved with this function called extended internal rate of return. What does this do? This takes care of the compounded annual growth rate calculation by considering each cash flow as a separate investment and integrating over the entire cash flow period. So whenever you calculate extended rate of return, extended internal rate of return, you calculate it with the time frame as a reference. The date on which you have invested, the date on which you have redeemed. Number of cash flows could be always investment, there could be some redemptions in between. So the investment made are denoted in negative, the redemptions made are denoted in positive figures. Same is the series of cash flow you have with the time references. When you use this function, the function asks you to highlight the values and the time frames on which these values have been transacted. Once you have this, then you get the internal rate of return. I have also shown you an example of cash flow for IRR and an example of cash flow for the extended IRR. In this, we have around 7 cash flows. These 7 cash flows, some of them are investments, some of them are redemptions. If you run over these cash flows, the XIRR is 12.87. So you don't have to fret and fume. It is not easy to calculate XIRR. It's a simple function. You can learn it from Excel and you can calculate XIRR. In case of mutual fund investment, if you happen to invest through us, and I believe most of you are investing through PurplePond, we have done all these calculations and we have presented you with a table of a return on each of your investment, and I'm sure this will make your life easy. What you have to look at is, if it is a varying period or varying investment amount, always look at XIRR as the parameter to compare across the time frames. I'm sure now you would be abreast of the 5 different concepts of calculating returns. I'm sure next time when you are faced with statement your return will give you an yield of 9%, 9.2%, the next question you will ask is, sir, can you tell me what is the annualized return? 9 can be the yield, what is the annualized return? So once you have the annualized return, you can always compare with the comparable products and make your prudent financial decisions. Thank you for watching this video. Let's meet in the next video with yet another concept which I believe will be able to give you insight into the financial mathematics. Thank you for watching this video.